It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was the right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized in this. Get right on it, Chief.
Skinner, but Bubba's my name. I like my iced tea sweet and my women the same. I'm your brown-haired badge here in little old Sparta, but nobody's bigger or tougher or smarter. If you're looking to fight, best not be with me. Gonna be held tight, well now we'll just see. You never know in the heat of the night on TNT. Heat of the night on TNT. Now I don't put on any airs, but then I ain't no slob. Just a redneck boy with a blue-collar job. The ladies I date, they gonna have some fun, cause I'm a big hunk of crime fighting son of a gun. So if you're looking to fight, come on up in the ring. You wanna be held tight, just about anything can happen in the heat of the night on TNT. Hubba, 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 heat of the night on TNT. Yeah.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. We are live. We are live. We are free.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat Taco Tuesday, the day after Labor Day, with Bullet Bob Leone in Fresno, California, in our little bunker in Manchester. I tell you, somebody pinch me. I don't deserve this. I really don't deserve this. What did I do wrong to deserve this? Welcome, folks. I hope you all had a great Labor Day, and my goodness, it is hot today in Central Valley, Pearl.
Only going to top out at 115, I think, today.
That is That's dangerous heat.
That's really dangerous.
You know, we grew up, folks, those who don't know, Bob and I go back all the way to grammar school, and most of us had job out in the fields, excuse me, here in Fresno County. Man, I was done with that frog before I came on, and here it comes back. Pearl, we worked in some hot weather out in those fields, and I guess youth had a lot to do with it. But,
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but 115, we didn't, even back then.
That's
we didn't,
a little much, yeah.
That, the last time was 1905. I was 3 years old during that time, and it was hot. It was extremely hot, especially for a child.
Just toddlers.
Back then. But our parents worked. They were happy to go out in the fields.
Yeah.
Happy to do it in 115.
Hey, it's very warm.
Excuse me. Yeah. You've got to really watch it, folks. Here in Fresno and across the country, really across the world, there's a heat wave out there that you just don't want to mess with it if you, at all possible. These days, there won't be that many. The meteorologists are saying that this will pass in, a week or so here in Fresno in particular, but around the world. It's going to get cooler. We're heading towards fall. Just don't mess with it. Right?
Well, exactly. Stay hydrated. Stay inside if you can.
Yeah.
I also read this morning that the predictions for this winter in California are going to be rather dire.
Meaning?
Not a whole lot of rain coming in the winter.
Well, just
not a whole.
Thanks a whole heck of a lot for this Taco Tuesday. We want to make people
uplifting discovery.
Excuse me, I got another frog in my throat.
Uplifting discussion. I'm sorry about that, but
why don't you just channel your inner politician at times like this and just lie your butt off and just tell everybody it's going to be nice
a cold,
cool.
heavy snowfall, a lot of rain this winter.
Now, where did you get that information? I'm on third degree on that. I'm mining for some hope here.
I read that in the Farmer's Almanac.
The Farmer's, farmers usually, they get the accurate stuff.
Yeah.
Those are crops. Okay, well, let's just hope that that they're wrong. But I look, folks, and I know maybe it's crossed your mind, or maybe I'm the only one with random thoughts. Little art class, Autry's random thoughts here. We're burning up here. I mean, literally, you could fry an egg on the asphalt. Not kidding. And then you look in Mississippi in the South, Midwest, all these floods.
Yeah.
Bullet. And it just leaves me wondering the same thought. Not just California. You got Colorado, Washington, all the western states are just suffering like never before with lack of water. You've got the Colorado River drying up, basically, which provides so much of the water here for the western states. And the federal government's come in just 2 days ago and said, listen, your allotment's going to go down. You're not going to get much. Why in the world in that infrastructure bill did you not have something in there to at least begin studying the feasibility of putting in a pipeline in your heavily flooded areas of the country which have a lot of water all the time, and pump that water through that pipeline? My goodness, they were able to lay railroad tracks across the country in the 1880s with the technology they have in hand. You mean we can't construct very quickly a water pipeline that could bring that excess water out to the west where it's needed? And then the desalination plants that Israel did, they were drying up. They said, we got to do something. We're going to dry up. And they went and they invested in desalination plants. Now they have so much water that they're exporting it to other Middle East countries. Why do you think our government's not doing that?
I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know what the reason would be that they're at least not doing a feasibility study. And I like your idea about the desalination plants in California, but didn't we have that at one time? Wasn't there one
out by
Santa Barbara?
But they stopped it.
For what reason? Environmentalist reason?
I think probably just a very, very, very severe case of political stupidity.
It would work too well? It would provide too much clean water?
Probably.
Is that what?
Well, out here, they're going to find an environmental hazard.
Yeah, well.
Region of the smelt fame. You have people start, dying of thirst out there. Cities that can't expand. Towns literally drying up like West Texas and going away because you got to protect the smelt. By all means, you don't know what a smelt is? Welcome to the club.
Wasn't there
tiny little little pseudo fish. I don't even know if you would call it a fish, but they suddenly popped up everywhere.
Yeah, they were all over the place.
They found smelt. They would rain. There would be puddles off of 168 there, and they walk up there and they find a smelt. You can't build a freeway here.
Well, yeah, well.
You're going to kill that smelt. And we all know.
Where the fox population couldn't build because the foxes, that was their habitat.
Oh, gosh, give me a break. I mean, this gets serious now,
I've never seen
you know?
I've never seen a fox in Fresno.
Yeah. I have not.
I mean, maybe at Woodward at the
I've
park or
seen
something.
squirrels that resembled a fox, but on further inquiry and further look,
they weren't foxes.
You know, the judge's signal, you have them there. You know, I got attacked by a squirrel on Woodward Park when I was out there with my wife, and I'm doing my power walk. Yeah, how about that? Is that an oxymoron? Power walk.
Yeah, well,
Jumbo shrimp.
Yeah.
You know, some things are just oxymoron.
Artificial intelligence.
I was power walking out in Woodward Park.
Yeah.
And I'm on some trees. And this squirrel kept right next to me, about 2 feet away, jumping from tree to tree, keeping up with me. And Kim's over there. He goes, "There's that squirrel's on you." I go, "What do you mean he's on me?"
He's stalking you.
Yeah. I go, "He's not." And then I look up and then I looked up and that sucker came at me, jumped off of that thing at my face. And I got close enough to see these little teeth were snarled. And for the first time, and Kim will tell you this, I found out when I'm really frightened, when I scream, it's not a scream driven by testosterone. It's like, oh, not a, oh, what you expect of Bubba. It was like, ah! I was like a little girl.
Well, I have been dive bombed by birds before on my bike.
Oh, I have too.
On my bike.
Yeah. I have too.
One of them hit the back of my helmet.
What do you think's with that? Because they do it in packs. They're like politicians. They're like a political rally. They start with a chant.
Let's get this guy.
Yeah, it just takes one, and the others who heretofore wouldn't attack a human being go, "Hey, why not? Let's get that sucker. Might be our only chance."
It's our territory. Get him out of here.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I haven't experienced a bird attack in a while, but I used to get. Yeah, they dive bomb you.
Yeah. Hey,
out there in Delton. Okay, go ahead. Change the subject.
Yeah, Cowboys. I know our fans across the country are interested to know about the Riverdale High Cowboys.
Riverdale Cowboys are a worldwide phenomenon.
They are.
They're right up there with the Dallas. You think the Dallas Cowboys are popular? Come on.
We had
the Riverdale Cowboys
we had
population.
The name first.
That's right. Riverdale population 222, and as a salute to hee-haw, salute to Riverdale.
I vowed that I was going to let the folks know what happens each week during football season to the Cowboys, good or bad. And so far, it's been good. They won their third straight game,
3 in a row.
The season. And so they're 3-0, and they'll take on your favorite rival and mine, the Carruthers High Blue Raiders, this Friday night.
We're going to try to be there
in Daletown.
We're going to try to be there.
So that should be a good game.
We have Pearl. Bullet and I have. I call him Pearl is another nickname. Hoss is a nickname I had since grammar school. Mr. Cole, 6th grade, gave me that moniker.
Boyd Cole.
But we have all these great plans of what we're going to do on Friday night. Go to ball games, and then around Wednesday. We both think to ourselves, you know.
You really want to go out there?
I wonder. I got to tell Bullet. Then you go, well, maybe I'll just make up this little. Then you go slap yourself. No, you don't tell him I'm tired. But let's try to make it this Friday.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll see what we can do.
Let's make another event that we're not going to do.
We'll promise to go and not go.
Feels good when we make it though at the time, doesn't it?
We're fired up.
Yeah.
But then as the week wears on, that fire slowly dies out.
But the weather should be pretty. Will be better.
The weather's going to be a cool, breezy 103. I think
we won't.
Friday.
I'm really going to make an effort. Whether you come on, let's barring something very significant,
like sleep or something,
or like Kim saying you can't go.
Your wife telling you,
yes, ma'am,
I can't go.
Ralph Cramden, I'm not.
I can't go.
Just say to my wife, one of these days, Kim, pow, right in the kiss it to the moon. I wouldn't get half of that out before a spinning back kick.
That's not going to happen.
It would make Anderson Silva jealous would come at me. All right, Pearl. Okay. Just a few things before we go to break here. We're going to come back and talk about the Biden speech and this special master. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
That former President Trump got okayed by a judge that's going to have an outside pair of eyes, much to the chagrin of the Department of Justice, which is why they would not want that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's a significant happening. But I'm into watching these old fight films, Rocky Marciano, Joe Louis. Great stuff on YouTube, folks, if you're into boxing at all. And I'm really into that and really got into this. watching on YouTube, the old fighter. Man, they could fight. And there's no better than the ones today. Oh, come on, Alan. No, the reason is because today's fighter, if they fought 35, 40 times, Bullet, that's a lot of fights.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like Sugar Ray Robinson fought 120 fights.
Yeah, amazing.
They just fought all the time, so they just got better at their craft. But Joe Louis, one of the most beloved heavyweight champions of all time, great patriot. During World War II, he gave exhibitions. He signed up. Hey, send me to the front lines if you want to. I love this country. I want to defend this country. I'm going to step away from boxing and go serve my country. So during World War II, they said, no, you could be better used, lifting the spirits of our troops by doing these exhibitions, giving them a little break from everything going on. By all measures, a wonderful gentleman, by every measure, great American, came up with this statement which inspired our troops. He says, we're going to win. During World War II, we're going to win because God is on our side. That, you ask any veteran when they heard Joe Louis say that, it just really helped them. It really gave them encouragement that Joe would say that. It became kind of a mantra during World War II, along with let's bomb the crap out of them. It was.
I don't recall that one.
Yes, that was another one.
Was that done by Anonymous?
That was by Anonymous. They went into Berlin as American. But here's the thing. Joe Louis, I watched the fight last night. He was 38 years old, almost 38, and he didn't really want to fight, but he had to fight. And he fought a young, up-and-coming, absolute, on-fire, bull of a man, relentless pressure, knockout power in both hands, arguably one of the best heavyweights ever, along with Joe, and that was Rocky Marciano. And Rocky just really gave him a beat down. Rocky didn't want to fight him because he was a childhood idol. And he viciously knocked Joe Louis out. I believe it was in the 8th round, knocked him completely out of the ring. Joe was never able to fight again, or he chose not to fight again after that beating. Here's the kicker. Joe made $92,000 for that. Rocky made $15,000. Okay? And all of that money went to the IRS. Every single penny of that went to the IRS.
Joe's money or Rocky's money or both?
No, Rocky managed his money well. Joe got in trouble.
A little behind.
And that was a generation that had accountability. But they made Joe fight to get that money. That was his trade. They said, you have to fight. And if he wouldn't taken such a beating, he wouldn't have a medical reason not to keep fighting. They would have forced him to keep plying his trade. No settlement. No, hey, Joe, thank you for what you did during World War II. Thank you for being such a part of this victory that saved our society. Thanks for all that you've given us. So we really can't measure in dollars and cents. It's going to be way more than your tax bill, Joe. And I know what some folks are saying. Hey, the law is the law. Yes, it is. But the IRS back in those days did not negotiate like they can negotiate now. And trust me, these are instances that I know of among Bullet, tons more of egregious actions by the IRS with absolutely no understanding, no mercy.
So ruthless.
We'll take we'll squeeze you until all you got left is blood, and then we'll take that one drop at a time. And that's things that go through my mind when I see the government hire 87,000 new IRS agents and lie to us and say they're just going after the fat cats. There's not enough billionaires, Bullet. Once you get through them and you get you close all the loopholes and you hammer them and you tax Bill Gates another 20, 30%, whatever. Once you've done all that, you're still woefully short of even covering the cost of these 87,000 permanent employees now. They're going to come after the middle class. They're going to come after the little guy because a whole bunch, say, the one that's making $50,000 a year, you get an extra $2,000-$3,000 from that individual by squeezing them, by not allowing this deduction or that deduction, because when they audit you, they're going to find something. Trust me. And he goes, well, what's $2,000-$3,000 to that family? A whole heck of a lot.
but you times that by millions.
Yeah, there's your windfall.
You know, I just very, very, am very concerned about this.
Well, and how much
the
more?
IRS going back to basically an economic terrorist organization in many cases.
Yeah,
I just got to take it off of Facebook, didn't I? Are we still on after that? Go ahead, Pearl. What's your thoughts?
Well, and I guess the real question is, how much more can the middle class take? How much more can we suffer with regard to taxes, inflation, the cost of everything going up, before there just becomes a breaking point, and you say, you can't do it. And so then you get to the situation like Joe Lewis got into. You can't pay your taxes. Well, that's not going to stop. They're going to come after you anyway. And so how much more can the middle class take?
Exactly.
We're up to here right now.
Well,
and the bad thing about it, at least here in California that I see, and I drive down a specific road every day, and you know where it is, Perrin Avenue. And I'm thinking, what this street is in the middle of a nice area of Fresno. It's very nice development over there near where I live. And this road is a piece of junk. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm paying ample taxes, road taxes, to the state of California every time I buy some gas. Every time I buy a gallon of gas, X number of cents goes to supposedly roads, maintenance, and upkeep.
As your front tire hits that pothole and breaks your axle.
And I'm going, where's all this money going to? And certainly not going to fixing the roads as it supposedly was going to do.
Yeah.
Same thing with the state lottery. Remember, that was going to improve schools and improve facilities and all of this kind of stuff.
We're going to go to break here in just a second, but you give me a really shocking statistic that I learned when I was mayor. Here in California, folks, Proposition 90, I believe. Proposition 92. I may be wrong on that number. It's in the 90s. But it was a proposition, and I voted for it back in the day, that voted to give half of the budget towards education. Half of the California budget. Talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. Well, I asked my staff one day to do some research on how much of that money actually gets into the classroom and include teacher salaries in
Made
this.
it to where it's supposed to go.
Down into in the classroom. To say I was shocked would be an understatement. I knew it was going to be not a big number in terms of the actual revenue that got to the classroom. But I didn't expect when I got back. And then when I verified it through several other sources, it was like I'm left in silence trying to just process this. When you pour, and you figure half the budget, so you just use, for example, you have a $200 billion budget, $100 billion goes to education, K through 12. When you pour in that money at the top, meaning it goes through administrators, principals, vice principals, and there's some great principals and vice principals. Schools couldn't run without them. But all of the ancillary support personnel, they call it, that you need to keep a school open, when it gets to the classroom, less than 20%, I think it was 18.5% of the revenue gets to the classroom for teacher salary, supplies, and all. Because do you ever wonder, especially you folks listening in California, but I think it's probably true around the country. Here in particular in California, when they get so much money towards education, and you get this list of things that you have to have for your kid that you're thinking maybe should be provided, like pencils and this and that for the classroom. And you're going, wait a minute. These have billions of dollars. They should not have to be begging for pencils. Then I'm in the grocery store the other day, and when I'm putting my card there to pay for my groceries, they have a thing where you can give, either round out your bill, or you can give whatever amount to help buy classroom supplies.
Really?
For needy children.
I didn't know that.
And I didn't do it. I'm usually a sucker for these, but I know I can't unknow what I know. I said, no, I'm not going to support this kind of waste.
Yeah.
You've got to figure whatever's eating up all of that revenue before it gets to the classroom. They need to fix that before I give even another penny to that. And you say, well, you're hurting the kids. That would be like putting not even a Band-Aid on it. They need to absolutely fix this So you're getting more anyway.
And what is our ranking in the U.S. With regard to quality education?
I think
it's last time I checked, we were 42 out of 50 states. With all the money that's been poured in to the California schools, the bottom line is we still can't teach kids what we need to teach them.
And I think there's only one other district or one other entity that gives more than we do per student. I think it's Washington, D.C. And they're even worse off than we are in terms of test scores and all that. Yeah. All right, we're going to take well-oiled machine. We are radio. Here, folks. Well, that was a nice long little plug for a song. But we're working. We're getting some new equipment. So new equipment's always, new way of doing things. At the end of the day, it's going to get better. But we're having a few little glitches there, so we didn't.
I think Jeremy's talking to the boss right now.
Oh, Jeremy's on there.
He's probably not real happy about missing the spot break.
Hey, but okay, real quick before we get to the hard news, not hard choices, but hard news. This fellow on our airplane, he bought a ticket, and he paid a little extra for the ticket, and a family comes on board, and family members of this family sit next to him. And apparently the mother had to sit a few rows, like 20 rows back from her family. And they asked him if he would switch. And he said, no. And he just go, no. He said, I have to get off of the plane very quickly because I got, a meeting. I think it was something. I have to get off quickly. And I paid extra for that and would otherwise, but I can't.
So he was
yeah,
but he wasn't being a jerk. Yeah.
But the lady went berserk, I guess.
Oh, I didn't.
She went berserk, and how rude he is, and this and that. And I'm like you. I don't think the guy, if everything's are equal, I've given up my seat for a family before, but I didn't have those extenuating circumstances.
Right.
It's.
It's one thing if you're a nice guy, you explain the situation why you got that seat if she's going to be inquiring. Yeah. And sounds to me like he did okay, and she just didn't like his answer, I guess, obviously.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why that captivated my.
Has that ever happened to you? Have you given up your seat?
Yeah, I just said that. I've given up my seat before, but I didn't have these extenuating circumstances. If I had, to do what this guy do, I would politely say, it's tough. If it was maybe 2 rows back, but you're 20 rows back, you get off the airplane. When it lands, everybody gets up. And it takes a while to get off anyway to get the thing in there for you to step off into and everything. It's so anyway, the guy, I guess somebody videoed it. Boy, they video everything. You're on an airplane, just know you're going to be videoed. Yeah. And I think the guy was within his rights and could be still. I don't know the guy, but he may be a good guy, a bad guy, but certainly this incident doesn't make him a bad guy. I don't think.
No.
All right. I don't know why I brought that up.
Another piece of hard-hitting news.
All right. Biden's speech. Good or bad for Democrats? Pearl, I'm going to let you start off with this. Apparently, the midterm polls, the Democrats are moving up. How much do you think the speech had to do with it, or do you think, as the polling indicates, you're getting a reaction to the abortion issue, that the Democrats are hanging around the necks of the Republicans?
I don't know that the speech changed a lot of people's minds. The speech was obviously all about Trump and the so-called semi-fascist MAGA Republicans. But I don't think the hardcore left is not going. Their mind's not going to change. I don't even think the conservative side, if that's a phrase you can use, of the left is going to change their mind. They're all convinced that there was an effort to overthrow the government on January 6th. So I don't think Biden's speech is going to do anything but confirm their thoughts and their feelings about Trump and the Republicans. The issue that I have is that the left always says, well, don't lump everybody into one category. We're not all this and we're not all that. We're individuals. Well, the same thing happened here. Everybody was lumped on the conservative side into one category as being MAGA Republicans and neo-fascists or semi-fascists or whatever, and and a threat to democracy. And if you want to see our country continue, you can't. We've got to fight against these folks because they're bad, evil people. But as far as changing people's minds and any of that, that's not going to happen, I don't think.
I think it forever changed the political landscape in this respect. No president that I've ever heard of or read about, once in the office, has ever demonized. Literally, there's no other way to describe this. Not just their opponent, a former president who hasn't even announced for sure that he's going to run, but demonized the followers of being semi-fascist, not believing in the Constitution.
Yeah, all of
not being. Really, really tough stuff. Name-calling, vicious stuff. Saying, this is who this man is. He's the second coming of Hitler, and if you support him, you're part of the Gestapo and the SS. And I tried to walk it back the next day. And so, I didn't mean all Republicans. Well, yeah, you're saying that the MAGA, you're trying to define, you meaning Joe and the rest of the woke left, what MAGA means to you. There's a whole other definition that people have of what the MAGA movement is. And you're trying, as you said, try to lump in everyone with the January 6 people that went into the Capitol. And you bring up a very good point, because the woke left, led by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the media, the so-called mainstream media, took great length to explain during the Black Lives Matter rallies that the folks that participated in violence, that threw the Molotov cocktails at police officers, who actually killed police officers, who set a federal building on fire, who turned over police cars, got on top of them, where I think 200-something officers were wounded, literal all-out attacks, were not indicative of the Black Lives Matter movement. It was a group, an offshoot. So don't judge a legitimate protest rally by the actions of these few. That was their position. Now, well, you look at January 6th. The vast majority of the protesters did not go into that Capitol. Okay? The vast majority that were outside the Capitol protesting didn't go in. Yet now in this instance, they are representative, they meaning the ones that went into the Capitol, violated the Capitol, busted windows, and went in inside the Capitol to Joe Biden and the left. That's indicative of all the protesters that were there. So the hypocrisy is pretty obvious there. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. And I think it's not only analogous, it's a perfect comparison. You just, what side of the political spectrum are you on? Violence is acceptable if it's in furthering your cause. And you get into a very dangerous situation. That's why we called out Lindsey Graham the other day. You play right in their hands. By they meaning the woke left, who uses violence because they're rooted out of Marxism, and violence is a tool to be used by Marxists to gain what they need. And now it's like you're calling for riots in the street if Trump gets indicted. Mm-hmm. And you got to understand the trap that the woke left is saying. And I'll kind of take a breath off of this. I do believe, and I know this is going to rub some people the wrong way, but I will never underestimate again, ever, Joe Biden's dark nature that he has part of him. I'm not saying he doesn't have a part of him that's good. We all do. We have a good side and a bad side. Carl Jung calls it the shadow that lives in all of us. You read the Bible, it's called that old man, that old flesh that's in us. And Apostle Paul says we war against daily. We all got it. But you got to be careful you don't let that dark side rule you. You have to constantly rebuke it. I see in this man who's just said, come on in, dark side. Come on in. And the ends justify the means. I believe he has a deep-seated, historically proven hatred toward conservative thought of any kind. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what he experienced. But since he got in office at 28, he has been the Democratic attack dog, going after it from Clarence Thomas, Bork, on down the line, going after Republicans, yet trying to say I'm bipartisan. The only time he was really bipartisan when he partnered with Clinton and Newt Gingrich on the crime bill, because the crime was so out of control. If he didn't come on board, he was going to be voted out of office. But when you get up there and call these names, part of me is thinking, and I hate thinking this way, dadgummit, but I might have to be honest with you. I think he was inciting people on the right, the ones that are teetering, into acts of violence, so he can say, there, that's what I'm talking about. That's the MAGA extremist. That's the terrorist that Merrick Garland was talking about when he said it's the biggest threat to our domestic safety is not Al-Qaeda, not Hezbollah, it's not the Taliban, it's white supremacists. He's trying to goad people who believe in low taxation, believes in individual liberties, believe your kids should have school choice, believe, as I said, should be energy independent, should have peace through strength, that believe you shouldn't teach kid to be racist when they're born. They're trying to get people that believe in that to do something that will nullify all of that and play right inside, right in
I think that's a great assessment, and I've read several articles that indicate just that. This was not also this speech was not to just chastise 74 million Americans who voted for Donald Trump. It was to tweak that nerve. They knew exactly what they were doing. He knew what he was doing when he used the words that he used. It was to get people
triggered.
Triggered. Yeah, like you get sometimes.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Exactly. That's my
prove it.
But I think that was definitely a strategy
no
on
doubt.
the speech. And part of that was to get Trump triggered. Well, he did. So the number 2 objective of this speech was to do exactly what you said, was to get all of the folks on the right triggered so that, heaven forbid, something may happen that would justify his statement of, see, these are the bad people. These are the people that are trying to...
Yeah, not political differences, bad people.
Yeah, these are the... Well, he said that vicious, hateful, and divisive. That's pretty tough language.
I'd like to look right into the camera here and ask people who supported Biden, who may have voted for Trump the first time, and I'm speaking to basically Republicans and conservative Democrats who felt our country needed a change of direction, didn't want Hillary Clinton, who got worn down by Trump's antics, the way he talked to people, and I'm part of that crowd. I got tired of it. But as we said on this show, you have to put policy over personality. But I can see, because I didn't do my research in depth like I did until after the election and Joe Biden started conducting himself like he did. If you voted for him because you felt this country had been divided by Trump, that if we didn't get someone in that office that could truly bring people together to some degree, just bring people together, whether they're far left wokester or a far right Proud Boy, whatever. And you put Proud Boys in Antifa, I don't know if you're ever going to get those groups. But you had that big middle, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, who wanted to work together. And they knew the start of working together meant you'd have to be together and start talking to each other more civilly, not demonizing each other. They felt, I feel, talked to a lot of people who voted for Biden. They believed that wasn't just something nice. They felt it was fundamental to this country getting back on track. The dialogue, discourse had to improve. And name calling had to end. They were sick of it. They felt Joe Biden was the answer to that. Grandfatherly figure. He even said it. I'm the uniter. You know where I'm going with this, bro. He put it out there. That's the number one quality that I bring to the office. I'm bipartisan. I can cut deals. Yada, yada. But the number one reason, and I think it was enough to give him the election. My point is, after over a year, seeing this individual callously leave innocent people behind in Afghanistan, never even mentioned for nearly a year, his policy's got 4 soldiers blown up. You see him just let the open border just go. And some of the more poorest people here in the Northern Hemisphere die on that dangerous journey that they're coming on because Biden said, come on. I don't care how you get here. Just jump in the back of that Coyote's pickup truck. I don't care if he's a rapist. I don't care if you're going to get here alive. Just come on. And you see him, his latest debacle of calling 74 million, at the very least 74 million people, semi-fascist, not adhering to the Constitution, hateful people. How in the world do you justify that? How do you let this speech go by? You that were snookered, you that were sold a bill of goods on vote for me, Joe Biden, I'm a good guy, I'm a nice guy, I'm the great uniter, no red states, blue states, only United States. All of that, what turned out to be BS. How can you not call him out on this speech? Are you afraid that you might have to admit, maybe I was wrong? We're all wrong about things time to time. This man needs to be held accountable for that speech, not just by conservatives, by your own party. You can't allow that. A family needs to discipline their own with more discipline than somebody from the outside. Don't you do that with the family? Don't you hold your family to a higher standard than somebody else's family? That's their job. You hope they're holding their family to higher standards. And conservatives, you need to get on the ball too. When Lindsey Graham says something like this, you got to jump his butt. You know, I don't know what's happening to this country. We have become, it's either this team or that team. Are you a Giants fan or a Dodgers fan? No, you're all playing baseball for the greater good of the game. You don't beat people up and kill them in the parking lot. Dodger Stadium because they're on the different team. You say how bad that is? Bobby, help me.
Well, here's
before I get triggered.
Oh, you're not? Oh.
No, I'm just this side of triggered.
Well,
and Laura's still there. We'll get to her in just a second.
Yeah.
Laura, hang on there. But
we need to get to Laura. But my third point is that
you got to tell. I'm kind of like James Brown after seeing. Can you put the coat over me? Pat my brow after that.
You got a paper towel.
Wow, man. No, kid. Jeremy's in there. You really need a towel? Okay, well,
I guess.
I mean, go. Where am I off on this? You've always told me when I'm off on something in a very gentle way. You've told me over the years, but you've been the voice of truth and reason. Dole Hoss here.
You know, I've listened to this guy since he's been in office, and I thought, you know, okay, this guy's kind of a doddering doofus at times, but hey, you know, the Republic will persevere, even Joe Biden. The third point to the speech, I think, was a point that was maybe not quite as obvious, and that is no mention of the good things that his administration has done to this point, his policies, because there aren't very many, if any, that I can recall.
Well,
we're not in a good spot.
At least you expect him to spin it. So say all this money that I've spent is going to do something, even though it's not.
So there was nothing to talk about as far as his policies are concerned. So what was the whole point of his speech? Was he over there to campaign for someone in Pennsylvania, or was the entire point of his speech just to dig at Trump and the MAGA crowd,
the latter,
and Republicans? And I find that the thought of even considering to do something like that, pretty dastardly, to be quite honest with you. That's you've got to reach way down to insult 75 million voters,
and more than that, people that didn't vote.
Yeah, I mean, right? That's pretty. Yeah, exactly, and that's just the folks that voted. So that's a pretty deep hole to come from, I think.
See, I think it's one of the darkest days politically in our country, because at the time we've needed the most, in the history of this country, there's always been someone emerge. During the Civil War, it was Abraham Lincoln. During World War II, it was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Both of them flawed people, but they were picked for, God picked people, and I don't know why God is doing what he's doing, but that's, we know all things work together for good. There's a reason he's in there. Maybe for us to say never again do we let somebody like this snookers, because when you do look at his history, he's never been a uniter. And you also beware of somebody who's been in government too long. You got to understand, the last job he had in the real world was when he was 28 years old, and that was a lifeguard. And, when you work the fields of the Central Valley like we did, I mean, sorry, but lifeguard really isn't a job. Now, when you need one, they're the most important job in the world. If you're out there drowning, I understand that. But he came in at 28. 51 years. The man has been in the political cesspool, and he's learned how to swim in that crap river.
Well, he survived.
That's what I'm saying.
No doubt about that.
Saying whatever he needed to say, whatever to stay in office, because you're staying there so long that that's all you know how to do. So your biggest concern is not about helping the people; it's how you stay in office. When you cross that Rubicon into that era, you start out, probably did. I want to make, Joe Biden may have said, I want to make a difference. I want to make America great again. I used the phrase. All right.
Probably did.
You want to go in, I want to, serve the people. But again, there comes a time with many politicians that you stay in office so long. And when you cross that line, that Rubicon, where it's about you doing whatever's necessary to stay in office, you become a very dangerous person. Because your vote, you look at a 50-50 Senate, your vote could send people over to die in a foreign land, i.e. Ukraine. Your vote can keep a border open while kids get raped and murdered. Your vote can spend trillions of dollars and bankrupt this country for our children and grandchildren, and not have anything in that infrastructure bill to help the people down in Mississippi have clean water. Exactly. That's why I don't use these words very often, dangerous and most important election. But right now, please, and people are going to lift this out and just use the snippet. I know it, but I got to say it anyway. I pray for him to change. He's probably made some good decisions in his life. He did on the crime bill. But right now, Joe Biden is a very dangerous president for the welfare of this country. The decisions he's making, the way he's making it, the rhetoric that's coming out of his mouth. He's yet to call for peace, or not coming out of his mouth, yet to call for peace in Ukraine. Folks, a missile hit with just less than a mile, I believe, from a nuclear power plant in the Ukraine. Do you know what would have happened? The disaster. He calls himself an environmentalist. That missile's off course and hits that nuclear reactor. You have an environmental catastrophe, the likes of which Europe, Western and Eastern, has ever seen. Worse than Chernobyl, by far. Yet he has yet to call for peace. He calls for more war, and he's got Lindsey Graham up his rear end, patting him on the back, going, "Go, Joe, go." And yet you come and do this speech and demonize half the country that you say you need on your side to move our country forward. That's a dangerous man. I'm open for him to change. He can change it. Everybody makes mistakes. But you got to understand, you can't go around licking ice cream, riding bikes, falling off of them, and then sending people over to Ukraine to die bit by bit, heading towards another Vietnam. Bullet Bob and I cannot ignore that, because this is exactly how Vietnam came into being. 55,000 dead Americans later, they pulled out in disgrace, just like Afghanistan. Has not this government learned one thing? Because you get on the fighting side of us Vietnam era folks. We lost people there, friends. Gary did, our fullback. We talk about our championship team, Bobby. That tough son of a gun played both ways. He was one of my heroes. You go fight every day. Him and Dave would go to Hanford and fight. But he was a tough guy.
He lived down the street. He lived a block from me.
I remember him saying, "I want to go to Vietnam. I want to go to Vietnam." And I don't know why.
Domingo Garcia?
He went, Dingo Garcia. Yeah. Vietnam, dead. They're no longer here. They didn't get to get married. They didn't get to have their kids. We did. And you're going down the same path in Ukraine, because sometimes you get so deep, and then when egos come in, because you know what? You got the egos come. Who's going to be the first to do the right thing? Well, the right thing means call for peace. You think it's going to be Vladimir Putin? You think it's going to be the guy over there in Belarus? No. You think it's going to be
the
Zelensky?
money train, too.
Yeah, the money train. It's not going to be Zelensky. Zelensky and Putin, it's the war of egos. Joe Biden's not going to do. He'll have his advisors and himself going, well, this is going to look like weakness. I can't call for peace. Who's going to stand up and stop this craziness over there? That's exactly what happened in Vietnam. Listen to the LBJ tapes and the Nixon tapes. LBJ, well, I don't know how to get up. It's going to look like we've just cut and run, so we can't. They're on the tape. Nixon, who said we're going to get out of the war. Well, I don't know. It's just going to look, we have to have peace with honor. Just withdraw. Well, we can't do that. It's going to look like we're weak. Going to look like ego. Freaking ego. Politics plus ego equals dead Americans. Simple phrase. Well, you're exaggerating, Alan. Really? Really? Think about it. Think about it online. Come back tomorrow and tell me about it. Tell me if you really think that I'm overstating it. I'm being, what's the word? Hyperbolic. I love that word because it sounds like what.
Hyperbolic.
See if you think that I'm that way. I know out there's a lot of Vietnam veterans that are nodding their heads right now. They won't come out and say it, but they know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot of Gold Star families out there, 55,000 of them, saying, that's exactly right. Gary Dent's family, you're exactly right. Is it's just like Pearl? You got 3 minutes. I was so disappointed in this speech. And believe me, it's not from a partisan point of view. And you said it perfectly. And you know, let me ask you this. We grew up respecting the office, whether we agree with the person in office or not. He was the president. I find myself doing what you just did a minute ago, referring to him as this guy. This guy. Well, you know, he earned the title of this guy. He's basically forfeited the honor, to me, of being called president. Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting because everybody was always on Trump's case about being non-presidential. Remember that? I mean,
oh gosh, yes. He was non-presidential.
He was terrible. The guy got busted off of Twitter. I mean, that's how bad it was. But he was always being hammered for that, for being non-presidential, because of his, tweets, and he was, not
profanity,
not being a nice guy, and he was being mean to everybody. This is, I'd like to say that this speech was maybe more subtle than Trump, but it really isn't.
No, it's not.
It was if nothing else, even more disturbing than anything, at least anything I can recall that Trump said on his tweets. But when your whole intent for a speech is to attack a large majority of Americans, that's tough to stomach.
Bobby, how do you explain that?
I don't know. And to say that he was, and we mentioned before the show, I've been reading both sides.
Yeah, I do too.
Of the debate, and then one side says, "Oh, this was terrible. This guy's a bad guy," and the other side said, "Well, he's just saying what."
This is the Gettysburg Address.
Yeah, exactly. He's just saying what everybody else is thinking. And you can take the same speech and have so different, divergent opinions. It's just amazing to me. So you have to find the real truth in the middle somewhere. But it was very troubling. Again, I think a lot of it only because there was nothing to really talk about as far as the success of his administration to date and any of their policies or policies they tried to put into place, because there's nothing there. It's hard to tout inflation It's hard to hard to tout supply chain problems. It's hard to tout, oil issues and gas issues. So then you go. So the next best thing is to attack a potential opponent and the people who support that.
Right out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. It out of the playbook.
Are we done?
Oh man, when Roy and Dale come in.
Oh.
Well, folks, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you so much. Bullet Bob, thank you so much. You gonna be with us on with us Friday. Will you be with us on Free for All Friday?
Well, as my coach Ken Usselton once said, good Lord willing, the creek don't rise.
You'll be here.
I'll be here Friday.
And hopefully we'll go see the Daletown Blue Raiders game. Folks, God bless you. God bless America. And just remember, do your best and let God do the rest. That's all he expects of you, and it should be all you expect of yourself. God bless. Love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.